All right, awesome. Today, today I have Heather Wells with me today, and before we even jump in, there is a very high likelihood that I will have to be like, "Hold on, I got to pause. My kids are coming down the stairs because they are here. They are up too late. It's Saturday night, but I'm happy to spend Saturday night with my girl Heather, which is an awesome segue into introducing Heather because Heather is the proud owner of numerous single mom brands because guess what? She is a baller single mom. Also, my co twin mom. What up
Aw,
in the house? Yep, we both have twins. So we're both twins, both single moms, both automation consultants, doing the best that we can, putting smiles on our faces.
we
And
could be the same person.
Wait, pretty much. And we're both co-winners of a fake award that that was awarded at Icon, which is the Infusionsoft User Conference. Icon 2020 was virtual, weird. And she and I love to hype people up, cheer people on the comments, bring it up, bring it on. So we were having a ball. And apparently, when I was out picking up my kids, I found out that they were like, there was, great job being virtual. I mean, there was some real great chat, but we should give an award to the chatters. And then I saw screenshots of the chat. It was like Jade Heather, Jade Heather, Jade Heather, Jade.
We're co-winners, co-winners of the created. It's not fake. They made it for us. They created it specifically for us.
We manifested that shit.
We did. It was fabulous.
So, and like as a twin mom, I know that you can relate to this. People are like, I don't know how you have the energy. And it's, you know what? You make it. You make it up as you go.
You gotta, because the second they sense weakness, they're like wild animals.
Right? Like, okay, I'm here. I'm here. So with that, I'm going to stop talking about Heather. I'm going to let Heather talk about Heather. Tell us just, the general basics. Who are you and where are you?
So yeah, so like you said, I'm a single mom, business owner. I've been a single mom for almost 21 years now. I know I'm feeling really stinking old right now. Mom of twins, and I am a business owner. I started my own business 13 years ago, working from home, and I am the creator and founder of the Single Mom blog and the Single Mom podcast, and also developing the Single Mom CEO.
And the website's really beautiful when you launch that, by the way. It's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
That's amazing. And like obviously I'm sure that the listeners are like, wow, there's definitely some stories there. So
Yes.
before we jump into like the history and the inspiration, like tell us specifically, what do you do? What are you awesome at? What do people pay you to do?
Yeah, so just like you, I'm an automation specialist. I originally started my career as a virtual assistant because I needed a way to work from home. And that was something that I was familiar with, being an assistant, administrative assistant. And I figured out a way to do it from home, which was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And one of my clients used Infusionsoft, which is now Keep. And I had never heard of it, but he wanted me to dive in. And so I did. And I started learning everything I could. I went to my first Icon that like 6 months after I started learning it, and was completely overwhelmed and almost had a neurological meltdown after that first conference because there was so
It's a
much.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, especially I didn't know a thing about marketing, much less marketing automation or any of the, I had no idea. But I found out really quickly that I was one of those weirdos that really was interested in it and liked it. And I really liked figuring out how to make those automations work. I was like, this is really cool. And so dove in with both feet and just started learning as much as I could from as many people as I could. Excuse me for 1 second. My fur children are out
we're
of
we're
their.
going to be interrupted. We're busy moms. Life is
Oh,
good.
my stars. And it's not my
Take these
kids.
moments when we can.
Yeah, my kids are older now and they know better when doors close. My dogs are just rude. They don't care. They have no manners. But so yeah, so I dove into that, and probably a couple of years in, I'm like, I want to do this more than I want to do the VA work. So I let go of all my VA clients and just started doing strictly Infusionsoft consulting. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And I love doing it. just helping figure out those problems and helping small business owners figure out how to make their lives easier and improve their businesses and get more income and generate more leads, and just figuring out those problems. And the one thing that I found in the last couple of years that I really like, that I think is the thing that I like even more than that, is building out membership sites and helping small businesses or people who wanted to create those type of websites with a membership component. And so I really, really like building that out. I figured that out building my own. So
That's amazing. And like,
yeah.
so for those of you watching who are not automation specialists, there's a lot of like dancing that goes on the background. Like we've all clicked on things, we've all bought things, but making sure you get the receipt, you get your login, where does that password come from? How is this
Mhm.
talking to each other? You get your welcome email, but then what? What if you don't log in? Who's going to remind you? Are you going to be an upset customer? There's a lot going on. But at the same
Does all
time,
that crazy stuff.
yeah, but what I really liked about what you said was you were like, but we also make your lives easier. So
Yeah.
like talk about like how automation, like you were saying, I went to Icon, it was really crazy, it was intense, there's so much going on, marketing strategies and tools and implementation, but also like
Yeah.
some of the best automations are very simplistic.
Oh, sure.
There's even a new feature called easy automation so that people
Yeah.
are less like mind blown. Talk about
Yeah.
like the spectrum of automation from easy to mind blown.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, looking at where Keep is now from where when I first started and dove into Infusionsoft, and this is back many moons ago when it was
A
red and
couple,
black,
a couple years
and
ago.
further than that, where it was red and black and it was really, really complicated. The campaign builder didn't exist. Easy automations were not even a thing. We had to draw our own mind maps so we knew what connected to what, right? Like you built one thing here and then you had to build the other thing here and then you had to connect the things in it. So it was very complicated and
You've really
complex.
seen it all evolve.
Oh yes, yes. So when people talk to me, they're like, "Oh, it seems so confusing." I'm like, "Oh, if you only knew." If you only knew how lucky you are.
Yeah, the UI's
First
really
off,
come a long way.
let me show you this thing called easy automation because it's so much better. You don't know.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so just to be able to go in and be like, okay, when somebody does this, then I want this to happen, and then I want this to happen, and it's so much simpler, right? Like somebody fills out this form on my website, and I get a notification on my phone that tells me, hey, you should contact this person, right? It's
It's
as
beautiful.
simple as that, and it's just that easy. And yeah, it's definitely been a journey to get there, but the changes and the things that they've done to help simplify a lot of very complex things that years ago you had to know how to code, or you would have to know how to figure out some HTML, or you would have to hire someone to do this for you. And having it be so much more simplified, it's I mean, it can only help businesses. I mean, I can't imagine not having it, to be honest, for my business.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how far it's come, and it's simple and complicated and beautiful. It's like a person. We're all simple and
Right.
complicated and beautiful
Yeah,
and
it's as
all
hard
that.
as you make it and as easy as you want it to be honest. I mean, it can really be.
Yeah. So I want to talk about like your entrepreneurial journey though. So you mentioned that you were a VA and then you decided to focus on Infusionsoft, now Keep. So we'll call it
Mhm.
Infusionsoft because this is past tense. But like when you were doing VA work, was that as a freelancer, or like when
Mhm.
was the point where you were like, I'm working for myself now? Like tell me about
Yeah.
that.
So basically, it was something that was forced upon me. So I, a long time ago, did a blog post about it on my blog, but I tell people all the time that getting fired was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because I actually, as a single mom, so this is before my daughter was born, when my boys were little, um, I was basically working any job where friends or family could watch my kids because childcare was double the cost of my rent.
With
So,
two twins. Yeah.
right, because I had twins, right, and both of them were special needs kids. So it's like it was even harder to find childcare sometimes because my son's the only kid that I've known that got kicked out of a daycare at 5. So like he was asked to leave. Um, so, but but yeah, so I was working just odd. I was working like graveyard shift at Walmart where I was only getting 2.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep a day because my kids were in kindergarten. So they didn't have full day kindergarten. So I would get done with my shift, go to the sitters, pick them up, take them to school, go home, nap for 2.5 hours, and then pick them back up from daycare or from my from school. So it was just,
Oh,
yeah, it was untenable. Like I was falling asleep in the middle of the day. I fell asleep one time while they were playing and woke up and they weren't in the living room anymore. And I heard them in the bathroom and they
oh.
had taken an entire, like the rolls of toilet paper. And it was like they were dunking them in the toilet. It was like spitball, the whole bathroom.
I
It was,
recently had a liquid eyeliner incident where she covered her whole when I was in
yeah,
a webinar, and I'm like, it's too quick.
right. You know that thing where it's like, it's too quiet. Why is
Yeah,
it too quiet? What what's happening?
it's because they
Right.
were
So
doing something they knew they weren't supposed to be doing.
oh yeah, because like I said, you can't show weaknesses. They're like wild animals. They will. So yeah, so I was working as a waitress and my boss let me go and I was devastated. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to work. I'm gonna go back as an executive assistant. That's what I had done before. And I'm just gonna do that because I'm tired of always feeling broke. And so I need to make more money. And I looked at it again. I was like, okay, I'm going to put the kids in daycare. And now at this point, I also had my daughter who was an infant,
Mhm.
and it was 2.5 times my rent to put them in daycare. I was like, "Ah, I can't, I can't do that. So I was like, okay, the only way that I'm going to ever make it, that I'm ever going to survive, that I'm ever going to stop struggling is if I work from home because then I don't have to pay for daycare. That's the only way I'm going to do it. And so I just looked it up online. I was like, how do I work from home? I was like, I got to figure something out.
You Googled it, or it was
I Googled it. I Googled, how do you work from home? Like I didn't know. I had no idea. And so I was just looking, and so scams and all the stuff envelopes and put things together. And if you give us $100, well, and then all the MLM stuff. And, God love you if you can make a living off that, but I can't. And and so it was just scam and all this nonsense. And then I came across an article just by happenstance. It says, working from home as a virtual assistant. I'm like, what the heck is that? That sounds perfect. And so I just read this article and it talked about virtual assistants.
Mhm.
And it was, I think, shortly after the 4 Hour Work Week came out. And Tim Ferriss, because he talked about hiring a VA. And so then it started kind of, picking up. People were like, oh, really? What? What's a VA? Um, and so I just started reading articles and then I found a website called Elance. Now it's Upwork, I think. And that's how I dove in. I just was like, okay, I have administrative skills. I'm good at this, 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 and this. I put it in like a resume and started bidding on jobs and got hired and just started gaining traction and momentum. And then one of those jobs was actually a gentleman who's his assistant set up a job that was like I could pick up an extra $50 to take business cards and enter them into a spreadsheet. And it was somebody who was local here in Colorado. And I was like, okay, I bid on it, got it, went, picked him up. That was the guy who introduced me to Infusionsoft. And so literally that it just snowballed into now I know this platform and now I've learned marketing and now I can charge uh 6 times what I was charging as a VA.
Mhm.
Right. So yeah, that's how it all started, was just because I'm like, I cannot afford to put my kids in daycare. It's too expensive. I'm going to figure out how to work from home. And I
So
just
then other people paid you as a freelancer or an
as a
employee?
freelancer,
Yeah,
as
girl.
a VA.
Yeah,
Yep.
girl. So you officially were working for yourself.
Yeah. I was working for myself.
A beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh God, it was wonderful. I'm like, so I can work whenever I want. I can work wherever I want. I can work for multiple people. I can pick up extra jobs anytime I need extra money. This is fabulous. Like, this is why is not everyone doing this? I don't understand because it was the best thing that, as a single mom, that could have ever happened to me.
Wow. So at what point, let's fast forward now, you got graded Infusionsoft, you were building up your clientele as a VA. At what point were you like, single moms, this is my niche. Like this is where my brand is going to go. This is how I relate to people.
So that's where sort of my entrepreneurial journey sort of has split focus a little bit because which it's some I actually envision this as sort of like a weird sort of roundabout. Like it's splitting right now, but the way that I want to do it, it's going to end up kind of coming full circle back together again. So um, once I started working from home and I started working for these clients who were like some of my favorite clients are coaches. I love working for coaches
Mhm.
and like self-help coaches and all these people who do some of my favorite people. And that was one of the best things about me working from home too, is that just the it made my world bigger. As a single mom, it's very isolating,
Mm.
and being able to work for anybody, anywhere, clients all over the world potentially, it opened up my world and it opened me up to people that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. And these people have helped me really change my life because a lot of the coaches and people that I worked with, one of the first people who was my first ever official Infusionsoft client was actually a duo of women named Amy Ehlers and Christina Rilo. And they had a program at the time called Inner Mean Girl School. And it was about helping women give, like, we all have those inner mean girls that say those things to us, like, you're not good enough or you're ugly or that, right? Like all those inner mean girl voices. And they created this whole program of like, how do you take them and give them different jobs so that instead of making you feel bad, they actually help you in life. And so all of the stuff that I learned from some of the people that I worked for helped me grow and become a better person, a better mom, better business owner. Like it
Oh,
introduced
I
me
felt
to all
that.
these
Oh, I
really
love that
cool
so
people.
much.
Yeah. And through Amy and Christine, I met Sam Bennett, who is another key partner. That's how I met Sam. And I met her through them. Love her, love Amy, still hear from Christine every so often, but that it expanded my world. And
Mhm.
those people helped me see, like, I'm like, what I've learned and how I've grown in my journey as a single mom, had this not happened to me, I would not know this.
Mhm.
And like I said, as single moms, a lot of times very isolating. And it also can seem really limiting, right? Because you feel a lot of single moms feel very stuck, very frustrated. They feel like because I'm a single mom, my lot in life is to struggle, right? All that stuff. And
Mhm.
so I was like, you know what? I see all these amazing women that I've been introduced to, not just women, some men too, but mostly women, um, who they're putting their voices out there and they're putting out all this great information that really helped me. And so I would really love to be able to put out information and things that would help other single moms because I feel like we get very somewhat stigmatized, but it's very stereotyped, right? And we do it to ourselves as well. Like I said, we tell ourselves quite often, my life's gonna suck because I'm a single mom, blah blah blah, and that doesn't have to be the way. And so that's where it all came from, and it wouldn't have happened, like I said, if I hadn't met all these great people through my business. And so that's what my goal is to start building helpful, courses and information and things to help single moms, and then single moms who want to become entrepreneurs and figure out how they can improve their lives. And truly, single moms, if you can work from home, that is the best way to kind of get to a point where you can pick yourself up, you know, and feel really empowered in your life.
Wow. Uh, I'm so touched on so many levels,
Mm.
obviously. But something you mentioned that I think hasn't been spoken yet on this show is that, or at least from my guests, because like I'm interviewing all these people that are, they have so many things to say, but like
Yeah.
what I think is really unique about what you're sharing is that like you're giving everyone else the credit too. Like the people that you meet
Mhm.
like turn you into who you are, and you're always taking a
Mm.
piece and grabbing lessons and using it as an opportunity to make yourself
Mhm.
better too. Like
Oh yeah.
I had the opportunity to be on your show a few months ago, and it just like
Yes.
it made my heart sore that like I got to take the pain that I went through and the
Mhm.
divorce, and I'm still just like traumatized by like the fact that my kids have to bounce around, and it hurts my heart all the time. And to like be able to shine a light on that and like attempt to not be ashamed of it,
Mhm.
um it helps me like it helps me focus on my work when I feel less alone, when I feel inspired by other people and less like, oh, I'm alone, I've been through something. We've all been through something.
Right. Yeah.
And every client, every colleague, every entrepreneur, which is basically, the one common thread of
Mhm.
every person that's ever inspired me is an entrepreneur, and they all make me better.
Yeah. And I think that what and that's one of the biggest reasons that I do like the community that we're in so much, because I am, there's obviously you're going to run into some people where you're like, yeah, no, not my
Mm,
vibe. But
yeah.
the majority, like that is, I will say this, the very first icon I came to was what made me want to always come to every other one. It was the thing that made me so inspired by the company. Like the company inspired me, but it was Infusionsoft then. But I was like, every single person that I have talked to here has been so helpful, so happy to share information, so helpful to give, like, they're jumping at the chance to give me
To
information,
give,
to give,
so much
to give
matters.
you. Here's what worked for me, right? I was blown away. Like I said, I went to the first one and I went to the first person I got to see speak. And the guy was like, I did this with my business. I made over $1 million and here's how I did it. Boom. And like, he's like, here, you can have the slides, you can have that presentation, you can see the campaign I built, you can do this and that. I was like,
These people,
how,
I love
right.
them.
Like most people are like, I made all this money and it's my secret. How, And so I had never come across anything like that. I had never come across an environment like it. And so I was like, this is so cool. All these people are just like so hyped up. It's a little weird if you think about it. If you're an outsider and you go like, you guys are really all that excited about marketing. Yeah, we're kind of freaks like that. But yeah, right? It's like our Comic-Con, right? If we can like, you know what
It's
I mean?
Yeah, I think Keep is really special because it caters to entrepreneurs. So I think it naturally attracts people
Right.
that care, that are
Mhm,
movement makers,
mhm,
that are givers, that
mhm.
are shirt off their back type people.
Right.
And I'm not saying that like other industries like Comic-Con or
Right.
speaker industries or finance
Right.
or what have you, but um, I love these people too.
Yeah,
I
and
think
I think it's because all of them understand that drive and that dream and that desire to make what you've created thrive, right? Like that's they know that want and that feeling. And they know the high that you get when it's like, "Oh, it worked. Something that I built worked." Like it's look at that. I've got people who registered for my webinar. Oh my god, people bought, like they
Mhm.
understand all that. And so it's really, really helpful. I do want to tell you something though, because you did mention it, and I want to make sure that I say something about it because you said it.
Fire away.
Um, you you don't there should not be any embarrassment or any of that about your divorce or anything like that, because you and I both know, and you know deep down, that kids are better off when their parents are happy. Okay. It's not, I should feel bad because I didn't make it work or I could have stayed or I could have forced it. Kids are always better off when their parents are happy. So do not feel guilty. There should be no guilt. Okay.
Yep. And I have a very close friend who's like a certified trauma therapist, and she
Mhm.
talks me through my low lows. And one way that she helps me cope with it is that um, it's like you have short-term feelings and you have long-term feelings. Like I'm allowed to have my short-term. Like sometimes I have
Of
bad
course.
days. I get frustrated with a client. I'm tired. I screwed up. And like if you
You're
allow yourself
human.
to react and like look at it like you're a doctor with a clipboard, like, oh, that's really interesting, like, and take notes and just like be the observer and allow it to happen. It allows me to like rebound faster,
Mhm.
instead of like thinking that my short term feelings are my long term feelings, and they're not.
No,
It's
no.
a huge coping mechanism for me.
Yeah, and it's just
Um,
remembering that, we're all human. We're all gonna have off days. We're all gonna have days where everything sucks or we're mad or we're frustrated. And on top of that, we're women. So there's gonna be days where we're just pissed off for no damn good reason. Or we cry for no damn good reason and
yeah. Yeah.
whatever. We get to do that. Just
Yeah.
deal with it. And so then but it's and that's really how I've gotten through a lot of the stuff with me as a single mom and all the stuff that went on with my boys and the stuff that goes on with my daughter. It's okay, this happened. I'm going to spend a day processing it, figuring it out, feeling how I need to feel, feeling all the feelings, cry, anger, whatever. And then the next day, it's like, okay, now what do I do? What do I need to do to move forward? What do I need to do to fix? What do I need to do to whatever? Right. Or if there is nothing I can do, I at least processed and now I can move on.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're a
So,
single mom, you don't really have a lot of
yeah,
choices other than
yeah,
to
no,
be the mom because you're the parent right there at that time. And it's a good
yeah,
motivator because otherwise sometimes it's hard to get out of bed, you know?
right. And
And
there's
like
some days
speaking
where
of
I
which,
haven't.
yeah, oh yeah, we've all been there.
There's
So
days where I'm like, I
let,
ain't
let,
moving. There's Pop Tarts downstairs.
yeah. I didn't mean to cackle like that on my share.
That's okay.
Um, so let's talk about this a little bit more because people watching this, they're entrepreneurs, and I think
Mhm.
like you're inspiring, and like we're both really like you're like ah, like we're excitable, and we're energetic, and I think it's very much in line with a really great analogy is like social media. It's like you put your best face on, but like when you're not looking at that beautiful filtered person of picture of this person, like that like they put their pants on one leg at a time, they have bad days, whatever. So like
Mhm.
there's something about the entrepreneurial journey that is very emotional. I mean, you can have the highest
Oh,
highs
yeah.
in lowest lows in the same day, and it's a
Oh,
very
yeah.
emotional experience because you don't have that stability of you're
No.
walking into someone else's business 9 to 5. It's their loss, it's their risk, there's no stability. It's hustle or die. So what would you tell yourself then that now that you've like been on this entrepreneurial journey for a long time? Because like I'm a baby entrepreneur. I'm barely one
Mhm.
and a half,
Yep.
and I have to like logically think through the high highs and the low lows, and knowing people like you and being able to reach out to people is huge. So like
Mhm.
what's your tip to young entrepreneurs?
Right. So, this is actually a really good question and good timing for that because my response to that would be um, to honestly recognize that there will be lows, right? You can go into an entrepreneurial journey on that high of, oh my God, I'm starting a business and look, I've got money coming in and oh my God, it's so great. But there are definitely very low times. I had a period of time where I went 3 months with zero revenue coming into my business. So there can be a lot of times where there's a feast or famine. So if I could go back and tell myself something, it would be try and build your business in a way where you can minimize that feast or famine, right? Like if you
Mhm.
can build up good funnels, if you can build up good leads and you can build up a good, client and referral process and all the things that you should do as a good entrepreneur and business owner so that you can kind of continue to make sure that you've got some business coming in the door when that client is done or that customer is finished so that you have somebody waiting and you're not just like, okay, I'm done and now I have nothing waiting for me and I have to hustle my ass off trying to get the next client in the door. If that
Mhm.
client doesn't come, you got no money, right? So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing would be um, when you have extra, it's always tempting to, when you're first obviously starting out, if you get a lot of like a good month where you're like, holy crap, I've got like 5 clients and I had all this extra money come in, and oh my gosh, look at all this money that I have. You're tempted to blow it, or you're tempted to funnel a lot of it back into the business, which is a good thing to do potentially. But knowing that there is a potential for a famine section, and especially coming off of 2020, where all the small businesses shut down and like everybody's world got changed,
Mhm.
knowing that there is always this potential of that being there, putting some aside so that you have something sitting there just in case that client falls through or that client is angry and you have to refund their money, right? Things like that is something that is a good idea to have. So just being real smart with that is a
Mhm.
really good idea too. But trust me, dude, my very first client where I got like a, you know, I think it was like a $6,500 client. I'm like, oh my God, I paid all my bills and I have all this extra money. We're going on a cruise.
Right?
Yeah,
It feels so
great.
good.
It was great. I loved it, but it probably would have been smarter to put some of that money away, right? Because not too long after that, I was broke again, and I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have gone on that cruise." you know?
Really? You went on a cruise?
Oh yeah, we went on a cruise. I went on a Disney cruise with my kids.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that's the time of their life. I don't know. There's
It
pros.
was. I mean, we still talk about it. It was definitely money well spent. I'm not gonna lie. I don't regret a second of it. I regret the, couple months down the line where I was like, "Ooh, I don't have any clients. It would have been really good to have that cruise money right now." But it was definitely worth it. But hindsight, maybe I could have done it a little different.
Yeah. That's a really great point because, before I hit record, I was telling you kind of like my greater mission of speaking and inspiring and this whole like jadeolivia.co brand where I'm bringing entrepreneurs and digital marketers together is
Mhm.
really rooted in the customer journey. And it's something that is top to bottom, whether you like it or not. And if you're busy on fulfillment and you're not thinking of the leads coming in, like you said, like there's going to be a dead end at some point. And what I think is really beautiful is automation is a huge helper in this whole journey because you can turn on ads and they run without you trying, and then the follow up can be automated, and then the offers can be automated, and if they want to buy it when they're ready, that the follow up and the fulfill, all of this can be automated, and then making them super excited on the tail end and asking for referrals. Literally, friends, if you're not automating every step of this from don't know you to raving fan, you're missing out. And that's why people like Heather and me exist, because not only have we figured out these moving pieces, but we specialize in, as you so succinctly put it, we're just here to make your lives easier.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, that said, what's your favorite automation hack or like quick tip that you want to share with people?
Oh God.
Yeah, right? There's so many to pick from on any of the product line.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I'm a Max Classic baby. I came from the
Yeah.
before, it was even, yeah, I came
I
before
call
when
it
it was
BK before keep.
BK. Yeah, I came BK and even BBK. Like it was like I'm way back in the um so which is, I mean, it's cool because I know a lot of the back end hacks that a lot of people who are newer don't know. Like I'm like the
Yeah.
action step kid, I'd create action sets like crazy and keep
Oh,
Mass Classic because that's how I started learn. That's how I did it. You had to build it that way. You had to build the web form, then you had to build the follow-up sequences, and then you had to build the emails to put in the follow-up sequences, and then you had to go into the action sets and set up all this. It was so bad. But I mean, and once it was put together, it was fabulous, but it was definitely work to get it done. So God, one of my favorite automation hacks that I don't think a lot of people use as much as they could is if you're in Max Classic, it's opportunities, and it's in Keep Pro and Light, it is funnels, right? Like, or what is it?
the sales pipeline.
Pipeline, excuse me. Yeah, thank you. So it's not called opportunities, but it's pretty much the same principle. This is what my sales pipeline looks like, and we move them from here to here to here to here to here, and this is what we want to, their process to look like. I think that a lot of people only think that they can use that for a sales process. And I have lots of people who I've built funnels for and things for that we use it to automate lots of different things, not just from the lead to the sale. I have a customer that I use. She's a loan officer, and she uses it. And we have stages for every step in the loan process for somebody buying a house.
So
And
for
so
fulfillment too.
basically, yeah, for fulfillment, but it's not fulfillment because it's basically application to all of the different things that go into buying a home, like the appraisal and the titles to the lenders and the this and that. So it's every little step along the way of buying a home that the homeowner doesn't necessarily know about per se, but all she has to do is move it from one to the next. And we've had all the custom fields set up and all the stuff set up for her where she moves them, and it sends an email to the buyer. It sends an email to the loan officer. It sends an email to the other people involved in the sales process and the buying process. So they all know instantly where this person is in the process of them buying their home. It's
Mm,
really cool. So it's
I
just
love
that
that.
it's that recognition
Mm.
that so many people look at Keep or any type of marketing software and they only think of the marketing piece and
Mhm.
not just the automation and some of the things that you can just do to make your life easier, to make your business processes easier, to
Yeah,
say,
like
this is something that I have to
internal.
do. Yeah, I have to do this all the time. So why don't I just make it easy? Or this is something my assistant has to do. And every day I have to remind her to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 because she always forgets.
Automate.
Automate it, right? Where it's like, okay, I've done this. I've built a form. I call it, not to sound mean, but I call them dummy forms, where like it's like all you have to do is give your person this. They fill this out, check the
Yes.
box, put the person's name, email, check the boxes that apply, and hit
Mhm.
submit. And that's all they have to touch. I set
Yeah.
up everything else so that you get the email. 2 days later, they get a task. The person gets a text message. Da, 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 da. Like all the
Right.
stuff that this person forgets,
Right.
all they have to do now is fill out the form. That's the only thing they have to remember. And the
I
rest is done
love
by
that.
automation.
I love
Yeah.
everything about that. In fact, like when people are like, "Oh, what's your favorite thing to do inside the app?" Internal forms, I think, are a
Mhm.
severely underused feature,
Underused.
and
Mhm.
especially for clients who don't really want to know or know that they have a staff that they know would just screw stuff up. I don't tell
Mhm.
them where the tags are. I say
No.
don't touch the tags, don't worry about it. Like
Don't touch the
just worry about this one little
automations.
thing. It's
Yep.
internal forms is like my favorite.
Yes,
I
I
love
love
that.
internal forms. They go to the contact record. I have lots of them. Update this, update that, update this, and it's yeah. I do it for my podcast. When people sign up to be a guest on my podcast, we do a
Mhm.
quick, I've literally automated that. They can fill out the form. They set up a time, we meet. I decide, I go to fill out an internal form. Are they a good guest or are they not? Based on whichever one I check, they get whatever email. Okay, great. I can't wait to see you. click this link, schedule your appointment. Here's what I need from you before the episode, before we interview, right? And it's all automated. All I have to do is tick a box.
Anything repetitive. Gosh, we are geeking out right now.
Yep.
So for those of you watching that don't geek out about this as much as Heather, we could geek
I
out
told
for a
you.
long time. We might need to
We're
have
not-
you on again just to geek out on automation. But more importantly, I think one of the beautiful things about talking about automation, even to people who aren't as geeky as us, they're like, wow, that's possible. So how can someone reach you if they're like, I'm a single mom and I really want to propel my business and save time? How can
Mhm.
people find you?
So they can obviously find, well, so my blog is thesinglemomblog.com. That's my vertical. It's not where my business is. That's my side baby that I love. It's not my business, but they can find me at virtuallyinspired.biz. That's my business page for my automations and stuff. And then also the singlemomceo.com is where I am working on building out courses and membership site and lots of great information. Like I just recently published a course for Down and Dirty, how to build a website from scratch. If you don't know how, I walk you through step by step how you can build your own WordPress website. Super simple. So
That's
all that
amazing.
stuff to help
A lot of
mom.
women are like, oh, I don't know how. So that's amazing. I'm so glad you provided that information. And also, if you're watching this and you're like, yes, launch that right now, like comment on the blog post, call Heather, whatever you got to do, because I'm super excited for this to come out. I know you have my support.
Always.
Keep
Yeah.
keep trucking along. That's so great. I'm so glad you came and talked about all of this. We talked
I'm
about a
so
lot.
glad you had me.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.